Hey everyone, and welcome again to another episode of the Campus podcast. My name's Clay, and with me today I've got my good friend Meg.
Hello, everyone.
How you doing today, Meg?
Not too bad, not too bad. Same old, same old. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. We're running a little late today because I was having some difficulty in a game I was playing.
Oh, really?
Yes, I've been cripplingly addicted to playing Night Rain.
Oh, God.
It's a real problem. My friends are all worried about me. My loved ones are telling me I have a problem, and yeah, it's become a real issue. Mostly because the game's so dang hard.
Ah, well, there's your problem then.
I know, but it's so good. So that kind of brings me into the topic I kind of wanted to talk to about today. I wanted to talk about difficulty in games and just how you encounter difficulty, how you feel about it. Uh, should games be difficult? Is difficulty a barrier to entry? And like how accessibility goes with it. It's mostly just kind of like an off the cuff just talk thing, like nothing too crazy, but just like your experiences with difficulty and how difficult games feel for you.
Well,
What do you
I,
think?
well, I mean, when you think about difficulty, you sort of think about like games you played as a kid that you go back and revisit as an adult,
Oh
especially
yeah,
like on like the original ones, right?
exactly.
The first sort of thing that comes to mind for me would be like Crash Bandicoot. So I played and still own the original Crash Bandicoot and Crash Bandicoot Warped on the PlayStation 1.
Oh hell yeah.
And I also got the trilogy, the like remastered trilogy of the three games.
Mhm.
And when I was playing the remastered one, even though there was still some difficulty, I did sit and wonder like, oh, so like what's how much has it changed? And the actual difficulty of the new like remastered version is actually easier than the original version, because the idea was obviously when it came to like how much the PlayStation 1 console could handle like pixel wise, graphic wise, they had to make
Mhm.
everything quite boxy. So
Yeah.
if you were to hit like the invisible sort of barrier where the platform finished, you just fall straight down. You had to hit it just right to get to it. Whereas with the amount of capability that consoles and graphics and everything have now, they changed it from a square, literally a square line, to like a curved edge. So there was more forgiveness with you being able to claw your way up to platforms.
Okay.
So even stuff like that, I mean, obviously that's quite like a specific like in-game difficulty thing that they had to like deal with, but that actually made games more difficult when you were a kid.
Yeah. It definitely was like some of them being like, oh, the technical limitations of what we're dealing with make it so that the games kind of had to be a bit harder because you couldn't, nothing could be like to a polished perfection. Like hitboxes were a bit janky, platforms that you were definitely sure you would have landed on, you kind of slide through a little bit, stuff like that.
I don't think they had. I mean, I can only go on like the ones that I can remember. I don't think they tended to have much of like in the way of like games where it was like easy, difficult, or hard. Or maybe it was the type of games I was playing, like Crash Bandicoot being one of them. That sort of progressed in difficulty as you went through it, and that seemed to be the
Mhm.
sort of way
That's
most
true.
games sort of went. It started off like as easy as it could, and then it got more and more difficult as you got further into the game.
Yeah, now that you mentioned, like I don't think there was a ton of games early on that had like difficulty sliders. Like the game was just built as is. Like you said, the farther you get in it, the harder it got. But like the start of the game was as easy as the game was ever going to get.
So yeah, I mean that's sort of like my I would say is my first point when it comes to games like that. But that's not necessarily to say that like games are easier now. It's just more obvious to tell a difficult game from an easy game. So
That's true. If I put
w-
Pokemon in Elden Ring beside each other. You go, which one's the hard game? You go,
Yeah,
I think I know.
there's like the obvious, like, I mean, like they class it as like Souls games, don't they? Which are literally games designed for you to suffer and make it difficult for you, but
I think
they're
they're wonderful expressions of player creativity, and they're not solely vessels of horrible torment.
there's a flip side, right? Because obviously it is that difficult that it does punish you in the fact of like if you decide to block at the wrong time, that's it, game over. But then when you actually succeed, the satisfaction of killing that boss or completing that level, the overall like reward satisfaction is what gets people to keep playing those games. They wouldn't keep making them if people didn't like the fact that they had to die 30 times to a boss before they were able to kill it.
Hey, I think the only boss I died to 30 times was like Slave Knight Gale in Dark Souls 3. I think everyone else has been. I find I don't have a particularly difficult time with bosses. I find it's just the game itself. Like, I'll walk around a corner and the guy will jump at me, and my brain will immediately start making white noise, and I'll just die.
I'm actually going to quickly look up and see if there's anything regarding like difficulty in game, just to see if anybody else has like a.
Fair enough. Well, there was actually a game recently that was a hard game that actually just got an update that added a difficulty slider to it.
Mm-hmm.
Lies of P. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have. It's the like near version of Pinocchio. Near slash
Yeah,
Souls.
that is a fun way to talk about it. But yeah, it is exactly that. That game is a ton of fun. I just recently finished that one too. Or sorry, I am almost there. Night Rain happened, and then I lost all semblance of any other game. But that game was like, it's really hard. It's a lot of fun though. And then I think the most recent update with the DLC coming out, they added the fact that you could like make the game as easy or as hard as you wanted with three settings, like easy, normal, and then hard, which is the base version of the game's difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
They just kind of acknowledged that the game was built hard from the get-go. And it was kind of neat because they did an interview with like IGN, and they basically said, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing, like they wanted the game, they wanted like more people to be able to play the game, and they found that from like the feedback they got, the game's hard, so like the ability for more people to play the game and enjoy the story, they decided that a difficulty slider was a good idea. I don't know, I think that's a really neat idea, and it comes to the thing of like, a lot of people talk about the Souls games and games like that, and how like the difficulty is like the thing. Like, you can't make those games easier. It would, in fact, destroy the game. It wouldn't be Dark Souls if I wasn't, destroyed by a giant dragon 4 million times. But for the most part, like, the difficulty slider came out, and granted, it only came out like 3 or 4 days ago, but it's all kind of been quiet on the Western Front. Like, nobody's been throwing up in arms saying that the difficulty slider makes this a worse game. Because you can still play it on the hard difficulty and still feel just as good, in my opinion.
I mean, like
I don't know.
I've just briefly looked up stuff regarding like video game difficulty. So I mean, like it's talking about like obviously like early games. So obviously we're talking about like the PlayStation 1 era, maybe even further back than that. Obviously, most of the time people didn't have consoles at home. They had to go to like the arcades for their video games. So
Yeah.
to ensure that the creators were going to be able to get enough revenue to keep their game sort of going and to pay the people that made the game, obviously the actual system that it was built on, etc. The games were intentionally difficult. You know that they call
Yeah.
like coin munchers was the whole point of like you'd put in a coin and you'd die very quickly. You'd have to put in another coin and to be able to carry it, like it's like continue and you've got 30 seconds. It's like quick, where's my coin so I can put it in so I can have another go. And it's sort of stemmed from that, like the idea that like as we've sort of evolved and consoles have got better, not that many people technically need to go to places like arcades and theme parks and stuff like that to get their video game entertainment. But the difficulty side of it, they still want. So they've brought it into the homes instead of having it just at places like the arcades. And I mean, most of obviously like the earlier games back in our day were obviously like short. I think one of them mentioned like whether it was tied to a specific Castlevania game, it didn't say. But one of the Castlevania games, actually, the entire playthrough is about like 15 minutes long. But it's intentionally difficult to stretch out that runtime. So
I think that's specifically
longer.
Castlevania like 1 or 2, because like those games aren't long, but like you get hit with a Medusa head and you fall off a cliff and you have to start the level over. Like those games are tough, and it's one of those things where like, are they difficult or are they like unreasonable?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry, carry on.
Oh, sorry. Because when you mentioned arcades, I shall. When we were talking like arcades, that brought me back to like a whole genre that's known for like being kind of impenetrable for new people because of their difficulty. Fighting games, like they're just known as difficult to just play for a lot of people. The idea of like motion inputs, holding back to block, and then just the 2 million thing, and then just doing combos. Like those are all known as like really hard things, and they're a genre that like you said, they were coin munchers. There's a whole like article dedicated to like SNK bosses called SNK boss syndrome, where their final bosses were just so ridiculously hard that it was like, oh, this thing is built, this robot is built to destroy you. One I know that's really hard, his name is Gonitz, and he is like if you do something, the AI sees that you did something and half the time reacts faster than you could ever. So like you do a fireball, he is already like starting to jump over you.
Oh god.
It's like, oh, that's insane, and he does ridiculous damage and he's crazy. But like I think that also adds to like why fighting games are known as like extremely difficult and extremely like high barrier to entry stuff, because I think like a lot of like the stuff from the arcades, like the artificial difficulty that they put in there to make those games make money, so that you know you can't just play for a quarter, beat the whole game and go, yep, I'm never paying another round of this. And then instead you have to go, oh, I died to this, I gotta try it again, I'm gonna try it again, and next thing you know, you've put in like $5, $10, $15, and you've only played for like 20, 30 minutes, and then you're off and the next person does the same thing.
Yeah, it seems to be, there seems to be like a shift that obviously at the start, due to capacity, storage, overall quality of everything, that was the reason why people tended to have to make games more difficult. Then obviously as consoles went into homes and they were starting to have like better technology, they could store more things, there were obviously everyone was starting to look at like longer games, games where they could tell more of a story, have more characters, and that meant that the overall difficulty could change. And I think that's when they started to add in like the gradual difficulty increase.
Yeah.
So it's weird though, because I've just been like skim reading this, and it's like we've got to the point where everyone was just like, oh, we demand really, really long games. So we get to like 200+ hour games, and everyone's like, we demand shorter experiences, and now we're going backwards. It's bonkers. Like, are we gonna? It's almost like we're gonna do like a whole U-turn again. Like, are games gonna suddenly become like difficult again because they're gonna be shorter experiences because people are asking for shorter experiences because no one has the time to sit and play a 200+ hour game anymore? It's just,
I'm just saying sleep is for the weak. I don't know.
But it is weird, like it's how it's come full circle. Like I've reading through, like, when games started just as like an arcade thing where they were short experiences and they had to be difficult to keep the income in. Then consoles came in and they were able to offer longer experiences. People wanted longer stories, and now all of a sudden that we have those, we have the technology to be able to produce all of these like cool stories and cool characters and these like over the top graphics and stuff. People want shorter games again.
Yeah.
People want an experience they can sort of like sit down and experience in a couple of hours and then just get up and go and do something else. Where does that leave difficulty? Does that mean that they, like you say, they're splitting up to soul, they're maybe going into categories now, soul games being the difficult sort of genres, and then they're like what that people tend to class as like walking simulators being like basically a walking simulator. It's literally in the title. You walk around and experience and go, oh, that was very pretty, done.
Also, the genre of like cozy games that have like no real no real like adversity to them. Like there are problems and like tasks to do, and maybe there's time limits, but like none of this game, like the game's entire intent is not to stress you out. Like Stardew Valley, um, like some of the dating sims, like stuff like that. Like just stuff that's like, oh, I get to basically have like a slice of life kind of game. Like
Yeah.
that genre has become really popular.
Mm.
I know I've put an ungodly amount into Stardew Valley in my time.
Yes, Sims games, Souls games, one end of the spectrum to the other. It is quite
All right,
interesting.
what if we get a soul sim game? I don't know. You you
Okay,
just get to be a farmer and
how,
water.
I'm just wondering how that would work. Is it going to be a
Uh,
Scott Pilgrim thing where you have to defeat all of their exes and their exes are super badass exes and you have to like go into soul
yeah,
like bosses to kill them, or what? What's going
yeah.
on
It's
here?
it's a farming sim, and if you want to court anyone in the town, you have to immediately like engage in with their seven evil exes, and you go into now a third person action game where you must defeat them. And that sounds actually great, and someone is free to steal that idea.
To be honest,
I
I like the idea of like I know people have done that before. It's just like, oh, like you run a shop or you have a farm, and then at night it's just like when all the creatures come out, it's just like you get out like your scythe or your sword and shield or your bow and arrow, and it's just like bloodbath, and then back to the farm again the next day. It's like night and day.
yeah. Well, there was one I played that I really enjoyed that was exactly that. It was called Moonlighter. Uh,
I have Moonlighter. I like
have
Moonlighter.
you played it? Yeah, it's
I
so
have it
good.
on my Switch. It's good. Very chill.
Just like my current motto, I basically just said, sleep is for the weak. I would run the shop during the day, and I would immediately go to the dungeon every night to amass more things. And I'm just like, sleep isn't necessary. It's fine. It was just so good.
Mm.
But like another thing I want to talk about, like with like difficulty in games, like some people find that like difficulty can be a barrier to like accessibility in those games. Like some people go like I don't have the hand dexterity or the eyesight to do some of the things that the game's telling me to do. And so is it just that like I'm not allowed to play these games because I don't have those abilities now? Is it one of those, and this is the only one I'm gonna say this entire episode, is it one of those like you just have to get good moments?
Mm.
Or is it like, hey, maybe in fact like the games can both be difficult and made accessible?
Yeah, I think it's that's more down to the game studio on how accessible they want to make their game. I
Hmm.
think like the sort of the basic sort of things that you'll see will be like, so you'll have it for they'll try and do put a game in as many languages as possible so it's accessible for people that aren't necessarily like their native language isn't English, for example. You can have subtitles that are bigger, subtitles that will have like a block background so it stands out a bit more from the overall scene that's happening. Sort of the next step up from that is they'll have different colored sliders for things. So for example, my brother is colorblind, so certain colors he can't differentiate between. So some games, I mean, the first one that's just come to mind, weirdly enough, is Buckshot Roulette. So he can't play Buckshot Roulette normally because he can't tell the difference between red and green for the bullets. But if you put it into colorblind mode, he can tell you which color, or rather which bullet is live and which is blank. So it's even down to little things like that make a game accessible for somebody who struggles to be able to interact with even little things like color variations and stuff like that.
That's fair. No, that's really great that they have that, because I have a friend who is also like red-green colorblind, and it can become. And we were playing Night Rain. Shocker. Um, but there, I don't think they have a colorblind feature, because we were trying to play, and I'm like, oh, go to the red marker on the map, and the map is like, we were in a forest that had like a predominantly red hue, so there's a
Oh,
red dot on a red map, and it's like two shades of red. And he's like,
don't see it. Yeah.
he's like, I think I see it, and I watched him on the map like doing a circle, and I'm like, oh no, the storm's coming. We can't loop too much longer. And it was just like, oh no. It's like, oh yeah, no, like if they could be made different colors and helped with that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the most basic step. One of the easier
Yeah,
things that you can do. I mean, accessibility goes beyond just like helping people with like physical or health limitations. It goes on like preference limitations as well. So
like
even like
arachnophobia mode in
yeah,
Monster Hunter.
like phobia modes, things like that. You can have some games will let you turn down like jump scare settings if you're playing a horror game, but it seems a bit weird that you'd want to play a horror game without jump scares. What's the point in playing a horror game if you're not going to
Okay,
play
I have a bold take. I think jump scares are the lowest form of horror. I think
Oh no,
spooky and
I 100% agree. I just think it's strange that you'd go into a game knowing that there's a chance of a jump scare and then turn them off anyway. Because I agree with you, like they are overrated, but a proper built jump scare,
yeah.
correctly made, solid. Solid
Oh,
work.
absolutely. I do think I do think when you get like, you want, sometimes you don't want a jump scare, but you do just want to bask in an uncomfortable vibe. Like like the Silent Hill remake. They have a difficulty slider actually, and it's a really cool one. Um, the remake lets you either say how much combat you would like in the game, and it's like little, normal, lots, I think is basically it. And then you can also switch the difficulty of the puzzles from like easy, medium, or hard puzzles. So you can really like tailor that game to being like, oh, I don't want to beat everything with a lead pipe all the time.
Hmm.
Uh, so I want to like decrease my difficulty, but like I really like thinking about these really weird puzzles, so I make it hard. And I think that's really cool how it can like tool itself that way.
Yeah. Because I mean, going very quickly back to the jump scare scenario, one game that I feel should be defended for the jump scares, only because it sets them up really well, is Mortuary Assistant. So the
Yes.
most of the jump scares in that are set up really well when they happen. Like you're sort of expecting them to happen, but you're never quite sure when they do, so it always catches you off guard. And then sometimes when you're expecting it, they don't pull it off. And then like 20, 30 minutes later, that jump scare you thought you were going to get actually hits you. It most of the like, and they're all randomized in like encounters in the game as well. They made so many of them, and some of them are like really good. So no sort of like No two playthroughs start the same. Obviously, once you've played the game enough, you will see every interaction possible. But
Yeah.
it made like everyone's personal experience more unique. That like someone saw one jump scare that somebody else hadn't seen because they randomized which one got and which one didn't. But that
Fair
was
enough.
that did like a really good job of like giving you the jump scares, but making it feel like they were supposed to be.
Okay. No, that makes sense. There was another game I was when we were talking about like accessibility. I was thinking about, and actually, it was Street Fighter Six has really good accessibility. They have blindness accessibility,
Okay,
so you can in fact play Street Fighter Six while entirely blind.
how does that
Uh,
work?
so they actually have sound cues that if you have headphones in, it makes a certain like sounds of like beep boop when your opponent does things,
Hmm.
and you can, as long as you know how to do your moves and inputs, or you could play on modern controls, another accessibility feature where you basically just have to hit a direction and a special button, kind of like Smash Bros,
Yeah.
and you do like your Shoryuken or your Fireball or your Hadouken. But there was one guy I remember a little while ago. It was like Evo, like a big tournament. I think it was 2 years ago. He was on stage for like the stream match, and he had like he goes around with a blindfold on because he can't see already. But he was like on stage completely blind. They got him set up, and he ended up winning the game on stream. His
Oh,
name was like
nice.
Blind Warrior Sven. You can find him on like YouTube and Twitch. But like he plays like Street Fighter and fighting games a lot, and he is blind. And he plays most of the time with a blindfold on. Because I know blindness is kind of a spectrum, so I don't know if he is completely 100% blind or just like so functionally blind that uh, the limited eyesight is not helpful.
Hmm.
But like, yeah, he plays with the audio cue setting on Street Fighter, and he's better than me by yards.
I
And
think
it's like that's so cool.
I think to be honest, now you bringing up someone like quite specific, the person that sort of sprung to mind like immediately when we were talking about like accessibility was a specific person now. Goes by the tag name of Rusticles, as in like rust, as in like metal eroding away. Rusticle, very weird nickname, but that's what they call themselves. And they play Legends of Runeterra, which is the card format of League of Legends. So a little bit like games like is it Hearthstone? Stuff like that. It tends
Yeah.
to sort of play like that in the League of Legends universe. This specific player who plays it has ALS.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so they got diagnosed with it quite late, from what I remember in the article that Riot published for them. And basically, they went within months from being able to sort of function as a person to being wheelchair bound with a breathing tube and a feeding tube and basically being confined to a chair and not being able to do anything.
Mhm.
But they were still able to play Legends of Runeterra because it has an eye tracking function that allows him to be able to continue to play the game. And Riot actually sort of managed to pick up on this specific player who was playing the game that way, and they made him a developer for the day for one of their for like one of the sort of like special events that they do, and they actually told his story to the community, and they've also immortalized him in a card set. So he actually
Yeah,
has a character in Legends of Runeterra now who's the same as him, wheelchair
I just
bound.
uh I just saw Trusty Andre. Oh, Adnir? It's actually Andir.
Yeah. There's
But yeah.
two variants of the card. There's one with him with also his actual children, like a visual representation of his actual children. But then there's also, I think there's an effect with that card that if that card's destroyed, it gives you the other card, which is his children. like living on after he passes away, because he sort of knows he hasn't got a lot of time left. So
Yeah.
it's like
That's
it was like a really cool idea, but the fact that he's he's in that predicament where he basically can't do anything, but he can still
but
play Legends of Runeterra.
there's been like a lot of people lately, like, and I think it's like the rise of like social media and that and streaming, that like people who play games despite like disabilities and that have become like really have been like really seen lately.
Mm.
Like, and it's allowed people to also see like adaptive controllers that have been built by people so they can play games. So people with like hand issues and that like still able to play games because of their adaptive controllers. I think it's really cool, and it's a huge step for accessibility that those kind of things exist.
Oh yeah, because that shouldn't not whatever limitations somebody has shouldn't prevent them from doing anything really. There's always a way around something.
Yeah,
There will be a solution somewhere, and there are people out there that know how to create those solutions for those people. So it's important that we share it.
yeah. More people should in fact get destroyed by a dragon 38 times, and no disabilities should keep people from enjoying that experience.
Exactly.
That's my bold take. Everyone should be able to get destroyed by a dragon at least 37 times. That is our official stance as the Campus Podcast.
That is our
Everyone is entitled to that.
Everyone is entitled to enjoy video games no matter what limitations you may have. There is always a way to enjoy.
Exactly. So I was actually going to wonder, like, is there any like particularly hard video games that you've enjoyed, or do you just kind of like avoid? Do you like difficulty in your games? I guess is the broader question.
I think like I'm not against it, because I mean I would probably say one of the more difficult games that I own would be Resonance of Fate, or as it's called in other places, End of Eternity, depending on where you are in the world. That for me would is one of the more difficult games I've played, because it's very strategical based. So if you make a false move, you punish yourself, and then it's very difficult to get yourself out of that situation, and you can die very quickly. And then when it's like, oh, do you want to restart, it's gonna cost some of your gold in game. It's just like, oh, cool, thanks. So that dwindling money supply that I've been trying to keep because I want to save up to buy new guns is going down the chute, because I decided to put someone from this corner of the map to this corner of the map. It didn't work, and everyone had a panic attack and died, and now I'm back at square one. Awesome.
The dangers of tactics games. I'm sorry, are you out of position? Perish.
Basically, yeah. So yeah, I'm not necessarily like against difficult games, but if I'm experiencing a game for the first time, I prefer to experience it at like the most balanced level, because I want to enjoy the experience as well as have a bit of challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm playing like most of the games that I play, all the time I'll play on normal difficulty, which is what they class as like the most balanced experience, because it's like I want to be able to enjoy the story, enjoy the characters, and enjoy the combat. Fine. And if I enjoy the game, I'll go back and go, you know what? I want to give myself more of a challenge now that I know how the game operates, and I'll go back to a game and I'll play it on hard difficulty, or whichever sort of difficulty I'll raise it to. Or with games like the first one that comes to mind is like the World Ends With You games, either the first one, The World Ends With You, or The World Ends With You Neo. They don't necessarily have like a difficulty setting. They have a slider, which basically means you will get more in-game currency, but not necessarily just the bosses, but the creatures will be more difficult to kill, but you get more rewards for it.
Okay.
So you don't necessarily. It's not like, oh, choose easy, normal, hard. The game just starts, and there is still the progression of difficulty, but you can also go, you know what? I want to get more rewards from my fights. So you can drop your level down. So rather than being at like the level you're supposed to be, level 22, I think I dropped my level down by about 5, which increases my reward income by like 2.5%. So I get 2.5% more chance of additional drops on top of the chance that I get for normal drops anyway.
Okay, that's really cool. I like when there's like some kind of reward system to optional difficulty. It feels nice. It feels like you took a challenge and you get stuff for it.
Yeah. I feel like I don't
I
necessarily need to ask you about yours, Mister. I was playing Night Rain before I came on and did the podcast.
Yeah, I do like I don't know if it's specifically the challenge of those games that I enjoy. That's a tough one. I do think I enjoy those games, and I don't know if it's. I guess I do like challenge because I'm thinking like, what are the genres I like? I like playing Souls games. I like playing fighting games. I do like challenge, though sometimes I do find I get a bit too frustrated. But like overall, like I find because you said that like sometimes like you wanted to enjoy a game and you wanted a bit of challenge.
hmm
When you said that, do you think like challenge gets in the way of like enjoyment for you? Do you feel like too
I
much
think it can
challenge can
do
kind of hinder that?
because yeah, I think it can do because bringing up Resonance of Fate again because it is one that's happened to me before. Like I really like the game. Like I like the characters, I like the story, the world and stuff. There's like the story's been sort of breadcrumbed, like trailed across like the game while you're having to do stuff. But then you'll just come across like you'll just be trying to travel to the next point and you'll end up in a fight encounter and the enemies will be like 20 levels higher than you. And it's like, this is just a chance encounter. I'm just trying to get to the next checkpoint. Like, come on, man. It's just, there are times where it's just like, I just want to get to the story point. Because I've done my side missions. I always do the side missions in that game, so I know I've got the experience and I've got the extra, like, rewards you can get for that sort of chapter. And then I do the story mission for the chapter. But it's just like the random encounters are sometimes are so brutal. It's just like seriously, I'm just trying to get from A to B, and there's like a level 50 guard dog in front of me, and I'm like level 30, and it like it's gonna like kill me in 3 bites, and it's gonna take me like forever to kill it. It's just I just sort of at that point I just put down my controller or like I'm just like, I just need a break, man. I'm done.
I get that. Sometimes like you need to take a break from things that are difficult. I do think though like difficulty makes the games I like more enjoyable. Like I don't know I'd feel the same way beating like a bunch of uh Souls and like I don't know, fighting games like if it wasn't for the fact that like I found them difficult,
hmm
like challenging, the same way that like a good puzzle feels challenging. Like but it also can be a thing like I don't think it's a widely regarded thing that like challenge makes a game more enjoyable because like too hard can kind of skew away from what people want. Like please look at the water temple in like Ocarina of Time, like notoriously bad temple. People don't like it. And is it because it's hard? Well, it's kind of hard, but it's like it mostly like it starts looping, and so it becomes this thing of like, is it hard? Is it just tedious? Is the difficulty too much? It's it's tough because like I think challenge can be really fun because it becomes so rewarding when it pays off. But
Yeah,
like if you get too frustrated and you give up and you don't get the payoff, you just get to walk away feeling defeated.
yeah. I mean, I do agree because I don't know. It can sometimes be just like where I am specifically in a game. Sometimes it's the type of game I'm playing, but I'll come across like a really difficult fight in a game. Like there's two that spring to mind that I remember when I was younger. as a teenager 84 years ago. I look back on them with like so much like venomous hate, because I just remember I mean, one of them I was racking up days worth of time to kill this specific character. I'll mention the shorter one first before I mention that thing, the longest freaking time I was stuck on a boss for, which I think worked out to be about 3 to 4 months worth of time.
Oh my god.
Which is, yeah, it's bonkers. But I'll start with the shorter one first. So one of the first games I got on my PlayStation 3 was Heavenly Sword, which is Ninja Theory's first big game that they did for Sony, which, for anyone who hasn't played it and you have a PlayStation 3, please try and buy it. It is a fantastic short experience. It's about 6 to 7 hours long. It is a masterpiece. It is a blast to play, and it just, like I say, 6 to 7 hours, done. It's beautiful. It's literally what people are asking for right now, which is bonkers to say out loud, because that's what people want. People want a short, entertaining, challenging experience that they can just play in one sitting, done. Heavenly Sword, ladies and gentlemen, is literally all of those things. And one of the bosses in particular, and I think he went by the name Fox or something like that. I'm gonna have to look up the name. I'm sure it was something like Fox, but my god, his boss fight was one of the most horrendous experiences of my life, because he had this sort of like teleporting thing. You were in like a circle arena and he would teleport around this area, and he would throw like these like two bladed edged like staffs at you, or like long blades. And if you counted it correctly, you went into this sort of like perspective of the blade going backwards, and if you used the motion on the controller, you could actually aim it to hit him, and that was the way to knock him out of the air to bring him back down. But oh my god, was it difficult to do that? Was it difficult to be able to like counter them as well? Yes. And then was it difficult when he decided that, well, you haven't knocked me out of the air, I'm going to come down and I'm just going to start throwing lots of really heavy damaging abilities at you? Yes. I died a lot to that guy. He's a piece of shit. So I need to see if I can find the name of it. I mean, the only other one that comes to mind is King Bohan, which is the last boss that was it is Fox. His name is Fox. What a piece of shit. What a piece of shit.
Even his name makes me feel terrible.
Yeah, but yeah, King Bohan was another really tough fight. And that was the character that Andy Serkis is really good at playing villains, everyone. Claire Obscura 33, he's played a good villain there. He was even better playing King Bohan in Heavenly Sword. Just saying, all those people that want that kind of thing, go back to 2006. It's still there, still looks good now, was acted to perfection. Just go and buy the game. Just go buy, play, and appreciate that game for what it is. It is a classic. I want people to talk about it more.
We're here to shill our interests and favorite things here.
We are.
It's our podcast. We're allowed to do that.
And now to go on to the most hated video game character that I can think of currently. And like that, which is so weird for me to say, because of all the horrible, evil characters that I know in video games, the guy that springs to mind that caused me so much pain for 3 to 4 months of my life is not the most evil or the most villainous, but oh boy did he piss me off. I'm going to take you back to Kingdom Hearts 2 on the PlayStation 2. So on the I think it might be the third visit to Hollow Bastion, which is sort of like the made up overworld, like the fantasy crossover with Final Fantasy characters and all the other spiel stuff. They always have Hollow Bastion as like that sort of center where it's just like Square Enix is gonna put other Square Enix characters here because it makes sense, yo. There's a massive battle where like thousands of Heartless just start swarming the city, and it's just like, oh god, like everyone needs to get called to action. Like Sid from Final Fantasy VII's there, and Cloud's there, and Squall's there, but his name's actually Leon because he's the character from Final Fantasy VIII, but for some reason he calls himself Squall now, which I don't understand why, but we just roll with it. Those two, like, back to back being badasses, you know, cutscene chopping stuff down. Sephiroth shows up, they go off, Cloud goes off and has a badass fight with him and teleports to another place because Tetsuya Nomura. And Tifa's just like, oh well, I guess I'll have to go and try and find them again, and off she waddles. It's just it's bonkers, right? It's bonkers as I'm saying it out loud. But we get to a section where there's one of the members of Organization 13, which is sort of like the bad evil organization of Kingdom Hearts 2, and they are not allowing Sora to get through to go and catch up with his friends to go and like sort out the rest of the Heartless. And this fucker's name is Demyx, and what does he have as a weapon? Not a sword, I hear you say. Not a gun, I hear you say. Not even anything viciously sounding. He has a guitar made of water.
As one is apt to do.
Exactly. And all he does is summon fucking water creatures every now and again. And you have to basically defeat all of these water creatures within a certain amount of time. And if you don't, game over and you have to start again.
That's very funny.
It is. I can just sort of like faintly remember myself like getting really angry and like hitting him with the water monsters, going, you fucking piece of shit, you will die, and like getting really, really mad. To the point where I'm like, I can't play this anymore, and I'd like have to leave it for a week and then come back, and then I'd come back to it and I'd solidly play it for like a week trying to get past this guy. I just couldn't do it. And I also remember the day I beat him. It was at 6:45 in the morning on a Saturday. I had one of those like big silver box TVs, the really fucking small ones for the younger ladies and gentlemen, but anybody older than me or around my age will know small size screens with the VHS thing connected. They were fantastic pieces of kit, ladies and gentlemen. That used to be hanging up on a mount on my wall, so it was super far away from where I was, lying in bed playing on my PlayStation 2, right? Like lap of luxury. It was great. I beat him at 6:45 in the morning, and I couldn't celebrate properly because everyone was still asleep. I had to scream into my pillow and like do a dance in bed for joy for about like 5 minutes because I couldn't like actually go, fuck yes, I finally beat you, you piece of shit. And I couldn't do that because everyone was asleep. So I had a very muted celebration.
No, but that's like the best feeling.
Immediately saved the game and then carried on.
Hell yeah.
So I would probably say, like, when it comes to like difficult stuff, that is probably the most difficult fight I've had to like accomplish, which is weird because it's not like, you know, like when you're talking about like Souls games and stuff, it's not like an epic encounter like that. It's bloody Kingdom Hearts with freaking Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and Goofy. And it still drove me up the wall for like almost 4 months. It's bonkers to think about. It really is. But I would have to say, from memory, that's one of the most difficult like times I've had in a game.
Hey, but you beat them and you felt really good afterwards. Right?
It was more like I was super happy for about 10 minutes, and then I was just relieved for the rest of the day. I was like, oh, I don't have to do that again now. And I was like, I think I saved about 3 times that day. I was like, make
Oh,
sure
yeah.
you've saved over it so you don't have to do this again.
I do love the, like, that feeling when you have to, like, you save multiple times, you're like, I just need to be sure I never have to do it again.
Oh, God.
I think I had a very similar feeling when when I played Elden Ring a little while ago. Uh, was playing against you've probably heard of the name Melania,
Yes,
Blade of
which,
Mikola.
which, I mean, this is the game you're going to be making me play eventually when Elden Ring
Yeah.
goes on sale, and I'm not really sure that I want to go against Milena because I know how annoying she is because I watched someone else on YouTube do a playthrough and they didn't like her either.
Don't worry, we'll be fine.
Hmm.
We'll be fine. I'll be your tour guide through the wonderful world of Elden Ring.
I don't know whether I should feel relieved or terrified. Maybe a bit of both.
I'm your tour guide as I take you to the back alley, and I'm like, don't worry, this is a cool spot. This is the murder scene.
Yeah. You stand here long enough, one of these big giant hand things will turn up.
I know where all the big hand things are. They honestly scared the shit out of me the first time, like, they popped out of the ground. I was like, oh my god.
They are pretty freaky, to be honest, when I saw them.
8-fingered hands that crawl along the ground are just not right. They're freaky as all hell. I'm glad, like, that you've had, like, difficulty in games and you're like, oh, it was hard. I was stuck there for like a month, and then I beat it, and my entire day afterward felt good. Like, I just felt relieved. Like, that's like the good feeling of, like, when difficulty goes well. Because, like, I bet if you look up, like, Kingdom Heart bosses, like, Demiux probably doesn't even, like, show up as,
Oh
like,
god,
oh,
no.
one of the
When
toughest
you
fights.
search up Kingdom Hearts bosses, the one that actually shows up is Sephiroth from Kingdom Hearts 1, I believe, is one of the most difficult boss fights in
That's why I
Kingdom
started
Hearts.
singing the Sephiroth theme when you're like, oh, difficult boss. Oh, I know this. I know this. Da, 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 da.
I
And
think
then it's
the
just like,
only I think the only reason in Kingdom Hearts 2 people haven't put that one in is actually because 1, the game's not as janky, 2 is not as janky as 1, and I know because I played 2 first and then tried to play 1. It is janky as all hell compared to 2, so I couldn't really play much of Kingdom Hearts 1, to be honest, because it drove me mad that it was like really clunky and stuff. You also have Cloud helping you with that fight. So it's not as like horrendous because in the first game you're on your own against someone who's the most graceful murderous intent man on the planet with the longest hair as well. Whereas in Kingdom Hearts 2, at least you've not as clunky, and you also have an annoying guy who can't make up his fucking mind about anything, swinging his sword as well, I suppose. Literally, that is the only way you describe Cloud. Like, if you look up any sort of, like, quotes he says, most of them will involve "I just don't know" as a quote, okay? He doesn't know a lot, trust me.
you know, that's a subtle reference to, and spoilers, Cloud's memory being extremely unreliable throughout every Final Fantasy he is in.
Just,
Mostly
yeah.
7, of course, but
Mm.
I'm a soldier. Uh-huh. I fought with Sephiroth. Uh-huh.
You
I
keep
have a
telling
girlfriend.
yourself...
She goes to another school. Uh-huh.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that. Where everyone's just like, ah, yeah, he's supposed to be with Aerith, and I'm like, no. No, he's not. Let's not... Like, to be honest, we shouldn't even go down that route, because we could be here for a long time about my thoughts on Final Fantasy VII. That's a topic for another day.
Next time on Final Fantasy VII's podcast. How do you feel about Tifa stopping the Italian government?
Tifa can do no wrong.
I don't think that's Tifa's fault. I
No.
think that's the people of the internet being weird.
Yep, Tifa can do no wrong. She is queen.
it still baffles me that Tifa hasn't been put in a fighting game. I would play Tifa in a fighting game.
She is in a fighting game.
What? What?
Dissidia.
You know what? I walked into that. Yep,
all of them are in Dissidia. I have Dissidia 1 and Dissidia Duodecim.
I have not played Dissidia at all. Are they good?
The PlayStation Portable ones are fantastic. I have mixed thoughts on the console. If you have a PlayStation Portable and you can get your hands on the original Dissidia and Dissidia Duodecim, God, it's really difficult to say if you don't have your tongue in the right place. Blah blah blah. Fantastic games, 100%.
You know what? It's time. We need a new Dissidia.
No, what we need, all they needed to do with the one that they put on the console was to just have it as the original format, which was a 1v1 scenario. They made it a 3v3, and it was awful. It was awful because they kept the same sort of mechanics that they did from the original, the original versions, where you could only target or keep an eye on one person at a time. So you couldn't see that the other two were coming at you from behind to hit you with fucking meteors or fireballs and ice strikes and shit like that. Whereas in the original one, it was one-on-one fights. You could focus and see what they were doing. It made it tight-knit. They had a fairly small environment, and it was literally down to who was the most skilled with the character they were playing.
Fair enough. Hey, speaking of, Tetsuya Nomura says he wants to make a new Dissidia Final Fantasy game.
No, he doesn't.
He said that last year.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did. Looks new Dissidia. February 3rd, 2024, from Noisy Pixel, the news site, by Orpheus Joshua. Square Enix recently hosted its 6th anniversary fan. Where's the quote? Tetsuya has expressed a desire for the team to create a new Dissidia Final Fantasy entry at some point in the future. Specifics weren't stated, such as whether it would be another gacha game or a console experience, but the notion is thrilling nonetheless. We live in a world that another Dissidia could come out.
Just go back to the original formula, please, if you're going to make another one. And look, if you do that, I will put up with the new characters after 15 being put in. Okay, I will deal with Clive being in a game, being in Dissidia, because they always have to put the
Tekken 8.
Well, they always have to put the main characters from all the Dissidia games in. So in the original one, Warrior of Light, Firion, Onion Knight, Cecil, Bart's Terror, Cloud, Squall, Zidane, Tidus were all your original 10. And I only know them that fast because I literally used to use them to tell the time at one point.
Fair enough.
And then obviously in Duodecim, they just added Shantoto for 11, Varn for 12, and Lightning for 13, because that's when it was at the time. I think they then added Laguna from, was he 4 or 5? I can't remember. Kane, who was a Dragoon, Tifa, Yuna, Jekt they also added as well, which is Tidus's dad, but he was technically on the bad side, but that was still a cool mechanic to do. So yeah, they added a couple of extra characters in for the Duodecim part for the heroes.
Alright, fair enough. I mean, when you said Clive, I'm well, they added Clive to Tekken, so.
But yeah, he if they're going to do another Dissidia game, Clive would have to be in, because they always have to include the character of a Final Fantasy game that's coming.
I mean, that makes sense. You need everyone's identifiable protagonist.
Mm-hmm. And if you're going to make a fighting game, you need a lot of fighters for a fighting game. So
yeah, especially these days, it feels like people have been really specific. We want more characters on the roster, and I'm yeah. As long as there's enough unique people, granted, Final Fantasy characters, you've got everyone under the sun doing something slightly different, so Like, issues of unique are not a problem.
There's a thought. Oh, God.
Uh-oh. Oh, no, what did you think?
No. Just the idea that Tetsuyuno wants to ruin Dissidia again.
He wants to ruin Dissidia. Wow, that is a bold statement.
I just don't know how I feel about it. Okay, like it was great in my childhood, and then the console one that came out destroyed it, and I'm just not very hopeful. Okay.
Okay, so it's not specifically like you have a hate for Tetsuya Nomura.
No, I'm just not feeling very hopeful or positive, especially after Kingdom Hearts 3.
Fair enough. Oh, you didn't like Kingdom Hearts 3?
I did not, no.
That's fine.
I actually haven't finished it. I am going to force myself to finish it, but I actually haven't finished it because I just couldn't keep playing it anymore. But that's a topic for another day.
And on that extremely ominous note, I think we'll probably like wrap it up there then.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, just a fun discussion about difficulty in games. And like I said, I like difficult games, and so I always like to talk about like game difficulty in a way that's like, hey, it is okay not to like difficulty. If you've only got like 5 hours a week to play some games, and you're not down to get blasted by a dragon 37 times, hey, that's fair. It's your time to enjoy. And anyone on the internet who says that games need to be hard because Epic Gamer, they're just wrong. In my opinion.
It's all down to everyone's personal experiences to how they want to play a game.
Yep. Sometimes if you just want to play like Stardew Valley, and you want no like conflict whatsoever in your game, more power to you. Absolutely. Gaming is gaming no matter how you play.
Mm-hmm.
Your grandma who plays I was gonna say Roblox. Plays Candy Crush on her phone.
I'm sure there's a grandma out there that plays Roblox.
Oh, have you ever heard of?
Have you heard of
have
you heard Tactical Grandma?
I have not heard of Tactical Grandma.
I'm sure her name is Tactical Grandma. She's literally someone who plays the card games, but she's really fucking good at it, and she's like over 60. Anything is possible is the moral of the story. Anything is possible. You can play whatever game you want at any age, at any difficulty, as long as you're having a blast.
I'm trying to remember, like when you said Tactical Grandma, it reminded me that there's an older lady who plays Britta, Food for Dogs is her channel. It's this older woman who basically just, I don't know how old she is, but she's an older lady and she just loves RPGs and JRPGs.
Aww.
So much.
I mean, let's face it, that will be me in the future.
That is all of us.
That will be
me.
Be in the home. That will be me playing Persona 10. I'm just as excited now as I was back in Persona 5.
I do like the idea of just being in the home one day and just being like, "Curse you, Bale!" as a dragon blasts me 37 times. Clayton, take your meds. I'm like, I can take my meds. I'm dead.
Oh dear.
Yeah, no. Such a funny idea. But yeah, no. Lots of cool stuff, and I'm glad that we have similar ideas about difficulty, where like it can be fun, but it can also be overwhelming. And I think everyone should try and experience a difficult game. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe I'm telling everyone to play Elden Ring Night Rain. I don't know. Maybe you should play it with me. Who could say?
I know who's gonna be forced to play it with him.
Forced is such a strong word when I'm gonna gift you the game.
No!
It's like, I'm being forced. I gave you a gift, Meg, and are you going to
But
say,
it's still forced!
Wow. Wow. I'm sorry that my gifts are forcing you to have fun with
Well, yeah,
me.
but oh, no, exactly. But I'm gonna feel guilty if I don't do it. I'd be like, oh, geez, thanks. Now I'm gonna put this in my library and never install it and never play it with you. So it is a form of forcing. It's like guilt tripping me into forcing myself to play it
Wow.
with you.
I'm sorry that I just want to play games with my friend and I want to share my passion.
No, you just want me to run around screaming and get upset.
I'm sorry that you hate joy. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying you hate joy.
Oh my god.
And on that note, thanks everyone for coming to our very serious discussion on the difficulty in video games.
Yep, thank you so much. Let us know if there's any games you found difficult as well. And we will catch you all again very soon.
Yeah. Also, tell me, who are you playing in Night Rain? Because I know everyone's playing Night Rain. Absolutely. 10,000%.
Leave your characters in the comments below for Clay. I'm sure he'll appreciate.
I will read them. All right. Thanks, everybody. Catch you guys next time for another
Bye,
episode of the Campus
everyone.
Podcast. Bye.
Bye.